Welcome back to the Thought Arcade on a very special spooky edition. Today we are going to review the Netflix series, The Haunting series, Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor. And then we're going to discuss some more Halloween-related movies and stuff like that. So very excited. The autumn season is in full swing and upon us. And I am in full autumn Halloween mode.
Yeah, it's like 70 degrees here right now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels really good outside. Or actually, it's 50. Holy crap.
Heard.
It's 55.
Woke up to take Archie out, and it was nice and cool. Not sweating instantly when I walked outside, so that was kind of nice.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, the cold front rolled in late yesterday, and I after work I went for a run, dude, and it feels so good. Oh,
heard.
It feels so good. I hadn't done a run in a long time, so your throat gets all like I don't know, it gets all cold,
scratchy,
like scratchy. Yeah, it gets all weird, but it felt so good to just run in the cold, and it truly feels like fall now, which is great.
Yeah.
Just in time for the holiday.
I know, right? All right, so let's get this started with some updates. What do you guys have?
So I had a crazy week.
Oof.
In that
crazy good or crazy bad?
A mix of both.
A little bit of both. All right.
A little bit of both.
All right. Continue.
So I'll go bad first.
Yeah.
Go bad first.
Get out of here.
So, me and Val made our first trip to the emergency room.
Oh my! Hold on.
And it wasn't my fault.
For people or for dogs?
No, for people, for us.
Okay. So continue.
Yeah. So Val had some back pain starting I would just say Sunday. So she has some back pain. And it got progressively worse and worse, and she took a bunch of Advil and stuff like that, and it wasn't getting any better. And then Monday she couldn't move. She tried to go to work and couldn't get out of the car.
Jeez.
Yeah. So luckily one of her coworkers was right there, and they took her to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out she has, it's called a FARS displacement or something.
Mm-hmm.
PHARS.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically her, the lower bone of her lumbar section is separating
from painful.
The muscle. Yeah. It's super painful.
So
it's
hitting a bunch of nerves and stuff and making it horrible.
Yeah, it's separating somehow. And I don't know quite what exactly is separating. But the bones becoming out of alignment basically.
Yeah.
And
crap, dude.
So she has a bunch of muscle relaxers and stuff like that. And then they said to just do physical therapy and she'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So we are
actually
going to go.
I was just about to ask, is it something that she can just kind of let itself heal, or is she going to have to maybe do surgery further down the line?
Well, it's already healed apparently because it's already ossified. The separated parts have already have new bone growing on it. Yeah. So they think it's from a really old injury. But we don't know what it would have been. Because she's never hurt her back or broke her back or anything. Gotcha. And so we have to go to a primary care, which she's a resident, so we have all that good stuff already taken care of. And now we have to go find a back specialist to do physical therapy and stuff. So I just want to boast that I wasn't the reason why we went to the ER first.
Yeah, that's good.
Good. Can't wait. Hold on. Have you guys had a conversation to where you guys made it seem that you would be the first reason why that you guys are the first go to the emergency room first?
I think it's just one of those assumed things
that you would be the one.
That I would be the first one.
Val and Emily are notorious for being clumsy. So
they are. They'll walk on a perfectly level sidewalk and then they just trip.
Yeah. Or Val, I think her first skateboard adventure was literally 2 seconds and she broke her elbow or something.
Yeah. It was the first time she was ever on a skateboard, and she kicks out underneath her, and she caught herself with her wrist, and it broke her wrist, and she has part of her She's got like little metal screws and stuff in her wrist.
Dang.
Yeah.
So I'd believe it. Yeah. Like, what did he do to you?
Yeah. And so she's taking a bunch of like muscle relaxers and stuff. And it's like, it's gotten better, but it's gotten worse. It's gotten better. It just depends, I guess, on like the activity and the day that she is having. So that's the bad news, but she's fine. We're recovering. We're getting through it.
Yeah.
Then I have two things. So we finally got our marriage certificate, our marriage license back,
like recorded and everything.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So we have our official one, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Let's just put it on a fridge, like with the macaroni." And she's like, "You don't put this on a fridge. You put this in a secure place." Yeah. And I was like, "Well, I remember seeing this tweet about this husband and wife, and the wife is like wine drunk." And she's like trying to burn the marriage license, and she's shouting throughout the house, "Good luck trying to return me without the receipt."
Oh yeah, I've heard that
one before. so I showed her that, and she thought it was funny.
That's great.
But yes, we got the marriage license, and yeah, like we're set. We're good to go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. How about Chris, do you have any updates for?
So just two. Antonio Brown signs with the Buccaneers, so it's official.
Is Antonio Brown has, I've only seen it on Facebook. I don't want to believe it because
it's coming from Bleacher Report, which I typically find as reliable for me. But
it is. Yeah.
They confirmed that Antonio Brown has signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is interesting because, to be honest, I don't think he deserves to play anymore because he is just a whiny, pouty child. He's a child.
It's like that stereotypical big receiver guy that has like a big flamboyant personality.
Yeah.
And they're all toxic personalities. There's not like a great one outside of like Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just a toxic little diva.
Yep. This generation of wide receivers is nothing but diva attitudes.
Yeah. And they don't need Antonio Brown.
No.
They have a good receiving core already. They have Mike Evans and Goodwin. So they don't need him. Like, why?
Yeah.
He's just going to ruin that locker room.
I think, oddly enough, it's because Tom Brady likes Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, if Tom Brady likes a player and wants to bring him on, then he pretty much has a majority to say. Like, look at Gronk. Like, Gronk came out of retirement right away and signed with the Tampa Bay. Like,
yeah.
But that's my first inclination was like, all right, just another good matchup for Brady.
Yeah. I think also what it is that the reason why he signed with the New England Patriots while Brady was there, and then the reason why he's signing with the Bucs is because if anybody is going to keep him in check on the team, like outside of the coaching staff, it's going to be Tom Brady. Like Tom Brady has that winning attitude, that winning personality. He set these boundaries, these expectations for his teammates, and he will do the same thing with Antonio Brown to keep him in line. So that way he does produce on the field and make the least amount of noise outside of the field.
Yeah.
So I do think that can be a good impact. I just don't think Antonio deserves to play after everything that he's done as of lately. And I don't know. That's just my thought. And it was just interesting that he signed.
I haven't heard what is he doing? Like what's all the notorious Antonio Brown stuff?
So first things first was the whole getting cut from like the Raiders situation. So I think we may have
talked about it a long time ago,
a while back briefly.
Yeah, where like he's complaining about a helmet. Like the NFLPA didn't like a helmet he was wearing, so he immediately retired. And then he like cussed out the owner.
Yeah.
The guy that signs his paychecks and all that stuff. Like he just cussed him out.
He was being real dumb when it came to like rehabbing too. Like they have like those cold chambers that they have to go in. You're supposed to wear these like booties on your feet, and he didn't wear them. He got frostbite. He missed a lot of training camp, and the owners didn't really and coaches didn't really appreciate that. Antonio Brown kind of just like brushed it off, said he didn't really care, and then all that became an issue. But he didn't really want to go to the Raiders after leaving the Steelers anyways. So that was already an issue. And then on top of that, he got released, then was going to the Patriots. And I think he got accused of sexual assault right when he signed with the Patriots, either like right before or right when he signed, he got accused of sexual assault. So he played one game with the Patriots, and then they cut him because all this accusation and stuff like that. They really didn't want that. Bill Belichick he's not with the BS. So if you're causing any kind of disruptions towards his program, you're done. You're out.
Yeah.
Okay. And Antonio Brown was that biggest case. And then also on top of that, there was a video that was going around that it was at his home. He was in the doorstep of his home cursing out the mother of his children across the street, like
it's
saying
it's a phone call recording. Mm-hmm. And you hear him like cussing out like the baby mama, and stuff like that. I'm like, dude.
And he's not saying anything. Like, he's going in. He's making digs, and the kids are there. The kids are outside of the car, right next to the mom, hearing these things. So, but yeah, I just don't think he has the greatest personality. I don't think he's a good fit for any NFL team. But if Tom Brady can do something with him, then by all means, they're gonna, they can do great things.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And second is UFC 254 is happening right now as we speak.
Why is it happening at such a weird time?
Yeah,
Saturday morning.
Yeah, usually it happens at night. But because the main card, Khabib is fighting, he's from Russia. I think they're doing it a lot to accommodate his fans and things like that. So they're based off of Russian time.
Just more Russian manipulation. Is that what it is now?
That's
coming into the sporting world.
But it's going to be a good fight. There are two really good fights that I'm looking forward to. Robert Whittaker is fighting Jared Cannonier. And the winner of that fight will actually fight my favorite fighter for a title. And then Khabib is fighting Justin Gaethje for a title. So it'll be a fun time. If anybody watches it, you should definitely watch it and tweet at us. Tell me what you think. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for updates.
Cool. Yeah, I just have a few like little things. So Quibi, the streaming thing that
I heard about this.
They're already going under, dude.
Really?
Yeah, they're already gone. They're already calling it quits.
When you sign people like Kevin Hart and no one has any idea what you are, and you got to pay Kevin Hart, So,
yeah.
Didn't we call this?
Anna Kendrick's on there.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
we called this during the streaming. Whenever we complained about streaming services, we said Quibi is probably going to be gone soon.
I think we said Quibi and Peacock aren't going to survive.
Yeah. Thanks for the 3 movies you made, Quibi. I don't even know what the heck, dude. It felt so fast. I guess from what I read, I think they were trying to jump on the really short clip, you know how we're into Vine, 6-second clips and stuff like that, and TikTok and stuff. They were creating little episodes, 10-minute episodes and stuff like that. So they were trying to jump on that bandwagon, the really, just really quick media stuff, and I guess it's not working out for them. So
we got YouTube for that, though.
Yeah, we got.
I know
so many things for that.
YouTube, the whole red versus blue thing. Those are all 5 minutes.
Or RDC World. A lot of their clips are 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that
too.
Yeah, we already have that. We already have what Quibi tried to do on YouTube,
and we don't pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. There's not an open market for that kind of stuff. So, it is what it is. It's happening. They're out of here.
Pour one out
for them.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I saw that Atari came out with this new Atari system that is coming out, I guess, alongside the PlayStation, the new PlayStation, which is crazy. It has over 100 games, and it looks kind of cool. I was freaking out.
It looks like a space age version of the original Atari.
Yeah,
I saw it too, and I was like, I thought you were dead.
I know. I did not know they were doing that. That was, I was a little bit intrigued for 2 seconds, and then I was like,
They have the new console has the original controller, but it has a new. It looks like Yeah, it looks like a revamped version of like the Xbox controller.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it looks interesting.
And Xbox controller basically.
Yeah, and it looks like an Xbox controller. That was my first impression. Was this kind of looks like an old school Xbox?
Yeah, I know we talked about like the whole nostalgia that goes into that, but I really like. It's very cool to see big gaming like companies to come back and like bringing things onto like the relevant platforms that like the PlayStation coming out with like the Atari and stuff like that. I think that's just a cool idea.
Yeah, the Atari came up with like Sega Genesis. Sega made like the Sega Mini, which is like a small version that has like all the Sega classics and stuff on there. It's nice to see that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I was intrigued. I was definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
A couple of things else I had was it was confirmed that Zack Snyder is doing some additional photography for Justice League, and he's bringing like I don't know, they're like, all right, let's just shoot more because people are so hyped about this thing, and they're bringing Jared Leto's Joker onto these additional photography. So the Joker from Suicide Squad is going to be. There's definitely going to be in Justice League, but there's going to be like additional stuff. And then definitely Deathstroke, the guy who played Deathstroke, is definitely going to be more of that in the new Justice League too.
Heard.
Which is
dude, I feel like Zack Snyder is just pulling up the most boss move just because he's legit just going off of like fan craving for a lot more stuff. And he's just like, I'm gonna do it my way. That's it. Like I can't do anything with y'all. I'm gonna just keep like making more stuff and like bringing in more shoots. Let's bring the Joker back. Let's just do it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
he's a really big advocate for in the creative process. He always says that you should shoot all your bullets. You shouldn't leave your project and say, oh, I should have done this, like I should have added Joker, I should have like created Lex Luthor doing this or that. Like shoot all your bullets, and then like it's a better problem to create more bullets than to be like, oh, how do I fit these like things that I didn't put in the first one in the next thing, if in this case, like he didn't get to, like his film didn't get released the way he wanted it to. If you didn't shoot all the bullets, then it's not going to happen. Like you're not going to see it. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of a cool mentality for the creative process.
This isn't going to be a movie anymore. It's just going to be a mini series.
It's a
with all of the stuff that he's. Yeah, it's already like a 4-episode thing. Now it's gonna. I feel like it's gonna be like 6 or 7 by the time he's done.
No,
just keeps adding more and more stuff.
I feel like it could be like a spinoff too. I feel like he might be already thinking about doing a spinoff.
No, I'm hyped because I think this probably means if he's putting Jared Leto Joker in there, and I'm like deep in the lore in this crap already. I'm not gonna get into it, but I'm like deep in it to where what he's doing in additional photography, I think he's setting up cliffhangers for Justice League 2 or Justice League Season 2, Justice League Season 3. And I'm hyped for that. I think it's going to continue. Like I think it's if it's successful and if it's awesome, there's definitely room to continue his line, because it was supposed to be Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then 3 Justice Leagues. So
yeah,
we'll see. Also, I just wanted to see if y'all knew what this Free Britney stuff is. This like a movement to free Britney Spears.
So like, this has been going on for a while, and
like from her dad or something.
Yeah. So TikTok has also been huge into this.
Oh god.
And basically every time she like posts a video, people think something is going on, something is wrong with her, which I mean I kind of think so too. But people will post it like a video or comment on a video that she posts, and it'll say wear yellow if you are being trapped, or if you're and the next video she'll wear yellow. So then people will start freaking out, and then people will start like blink twice in the next video if you are being held captive or something, and she'll do it. So there's a lot going on, and apparently her not to like make things sad, but apparently they are having like family issues where the dad is trying to make every decision.
They've always had conflict because her dad is her manager.
Yeah. Well, no, he's not even that. He's like he's the right to attorney or whatever. Like he makes all her decisions, even though power of attorney. So any decision that she has to make, she basically has to go through her dad and her sister, her younger sister, who was also famous for a while, but I don't think she was on Zoe 101.
Britney Spears has a sister.
Yeah, Jamie Lynn Spears. She was on Zoe 101. Dude, Zoe 101 was a great. I like that show. It was a great show. She was
on.
I grew up with only like 4 TV channels.
Nickelodeon. It was on Nickelodeon. I think.
Yeah. But, she was kind of famous for a little bit.
Yeah, her sister is trying to get it to where like either her sister is the power of attorney again, or Britney Spears gets her like freedom back or whatever. Yeah. But again, since her dad is making all the decisions, they can't. They're in a stalemate because that can never happen. If he could just say no every time. Mm-hmm. But it's just whole like family turmoil there, and I just think Britney Spears is suffering repercussions for mistakes or issues that she's maybe situations she put herself in or she may have been put in the past are coming back.
Yeah.
What
happened to what was his name? Kevin?
Yeah.
What happened to him? Is he okay? Did people check in on him after they divorced?
Dude, no, he just died down because she went
Kevin
crazy.
Federline, there we go. K-Fed.
She went crazy and he was just like, yeah, I can't be in the limelight right now. So I think he just died down. I think he's married.
Yeah, I think he says he's been married since 2013.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like, Britney had a crazy nervous breakdown, and that's when her dad took over of stuff, right? I mean, that's And
I always thought like her dad was at least the manager for her, and like I think they had like legal issues with like royalties and like who's getting paid for what, and I think her dad like took most of the money.
I'm sure.
And so like that's where there's like conflict and stuff. And then she has like her meltdown, and then he like takes over more.
I'm sure that is the case.
It's like drama and stuff between them.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's a possibility. It's just saying that Britney Spears is not free is kind of. I think that's kind of a hyperbole. I think that's probably like just the online mob being all weird and stuff. Like, I'm sure she's living fine. Like, I'm sure she's doing all right. Maybe she just doesn't, like, get to... I don't know. She has to ask somebody for her decisions, right? Like, has she... Like, she could speak to any news outlet at any time and just be like, my dad's, like, locking me in the room every 10 seconds or something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything about that.
I think it's also, like, going further is saying that, like, I don't really know a lot about it. I just know of these because of TikTok.
Yeah.
That she's like also going through a lot of like mental health struggles.
I thought she was having a nice comeback. Like she had like a show in like Vegas that she's been doing.
Right.
She had a it's not tenure. It's like they call it something whenever you have like you sign a contract to do shows a year in Vegas.
Yeah.
What it's called.
She has like a big one.
Yeah, and like, she did that, but afterwards, I think that's when it may have started going downhill or whatever. Just because, I guess the whole family situation. I don't know.
Still doing it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know she hasn't made like any new music. Like it's just her singing like all of her like old stuff.
Yeah,
and like dancing and stuff. Like she's still a good dancer, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know.
The online people need to just let them work that out. Free Britney. People are weird. All right, cool. Well, let's. So, did y'all watch Bly Manor at least, right? I think.
Yes. Yeah.
I think Chris hasn't seen The Hill House yet, right?
I have not seen Hill House yet, but we can definitely talk about it anyways. But let's start with Bly Manor, just because that one I did actually see. I finished it last night, and it was great.
Okay, so we're gonna give the audience time. If you haven't seen it and you don't want spoilers. You skip to the end of the video. I don't know, or just watch it and listen to us review it first, and then make your own decision.
Yeah, you can.
We are going to be spoiling stuff. These are 2 really good series, so you've
been warned.
There we go.
5, 4. No, I'm just playing. Click away now. All right.
Give him a count.
That's Bly House.
Yeah, Bly House. Let's go.
Where do we start with Bly House?
The beginning.
So they have similar characters from the Hill House series.
Yeah, it's pretty much. I have the casting list pulled up.
It's very
it's real similar to the same, like the main character in Bly House, Victoria Perdola Titelli. I'm assuming she's Italian.
Sorry, one more time.
I'm gonna say I'll say it correctly. Victoria Pedretti.
Yeah.
Pedretti. So she is the main actress in she's the protagonist, I guess, if you will, in Bly Manor. But she's also in Hill House.
And she is kind of like what the Hill House series like revolves around too.
Yeah, because she plays Nell. Because I thought, because I rewatched a little bit of Hill House for this, and I was like, her voice sounds really familiar, but she has different hair color, and I think that's like what really threw me off. Yeah, like she has like black, dark brown hair. In Hill House,
Bly House, she kind of has
like blonde,
and she kind of has this weird high pitch, like American accent going on.
Yeah, Val does not like it.
I know Emily didn't either. She couldn't stand when she talked. It was like a really like white girl voice. I guess I don't know how you say it.
I'm gonna be honest. That's what made me like her even more.
Oh, Chris likes the white girl voice.
I was like, I like her. I hope she doesn't die.
Well, so I don't know, man. This one was weird. There was a lot to establish in this show. A lot of like the two weird, like awkward kids that were super creepy. The weird were like, other people too. I don't know. There was a lot. There was a lot to establish. Like, and you're asking questions until basically like the episode 7.
I was asking questions until like the very end.
Really?
Yeah. So the two kids. Well, first off, it starts off with an older lady coming to a wedding, like a rehearsal dinner or whatever, and then they're all sitting by a fire, and they all jokingly make fun of the place they're staying at's haunted, and then this old lady goes, "Well, let me tell you a ghost story."
Yeah, I want to hear a story, and
I want to hear a ghost story, children.
The chalkboard. She's like,
yeah, they're all sitting by the fire, and she's like crackling the fire.
And then she's like, "Yeah, I want to hear a story." It's like, not really. I want to tell you the story. And they all just stay there.
It's really long. We're gonna sit here for a couple of hours.
Yeah, I also fell in love with that old lady. I thought the way she told the story was awesome.
She's the mom in Hill House.
Oh, she was in Entourage. I don't know if you guys ever seen that show.
Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff.
In Entourage.
She's also in that scary movie. Well, it's kind of like a thrill suspense movie where she gets like handcuffed to the bed thing, and like the guy dies and she can't get out like forever. It's like it's a Stephen King. It's a Stephen King book, I believe.
Yeah, it actually wasn't too bad. It was kind of good. Yeah, I remember watching it with y'all.
Yeah, it was all right. Like it was kind of weird, but it was one of those like psychological, scary things.
Yeah, so she's telling the story, and then it cuts to Dani making her way from America to the motherland of the UK, and she definitely seems off already. Like she's definitely haunted by something. We just don't know what.
She's seeing the dude from Kingdom Hearts, dude. She's seeing the shadow Sora, dude.
Oh yeah.
That's basically what it is. It's like it's like this black figure and these two really bright eyes. And it's actually it's really creepy.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely creeped out by that.
I jumped when I very first saw it. I jumped a little bit because I wasn't expecting it. And then she turns to the mirror in her little hostel, and there it is. And I jumped real quick, a little bit.
Yeah,
that was.
And so she gets up, and then she gets a job as an au pair, which I've never heard of.
An au pair.
An au pair, yeah. AUPEAR.
But basically, she's like a live-in nanny tutor person type thing. And which I think was a kind of like an interesting job. Like so she ends up going to Bly Manor, and you meet my favorite character and probably my favorite actor in the series so far, a guy who plays Owen, and the character's name is Owen. Nice. So he like drives her, and he's like a cook. He's a chef for the house.
Yeah.
So they arrive at Bly Manor, this big house and stuff, and it's definitely creepy. And so she kind of like walks, and then she runs into the first child. Her name is Flora, which is Latin for flower.
Yeah, and she makes that known in the actual series too.
Yeah,
she's like, it's Latin for, or it's whatever. It's perfectly splendid.
She says everything's perfectly whatever. The adjective is a sentence, so it would be splendid. It would be
splendid, dude.
Perfect.
She says perfectly splendid too much in the beginning.
I enjoyed that. Like I was like, I need kids to be this optimistic in my life.
Dude, kids aren't that optimistic.
Because kids are not like that at all.
That's how I knew she was evil, dude. No, I'm playing.
Yeah. Well, because you're overlooking a lake on this estate. It's a pretty small lake. And she's there with like a talisman. And so you're getting all freaked out, like, what the is a talisman doing there? Why is a child holding a talisman? And then they like walk around, and then they meet the other boy and the housekeeper.
Wait, hold on. Also, another question is, why is a child looking so ominously at the lake? That's question one.
Yeah, she looked all like out of it and creepy, and then he's like just starts saying perfectly splendid everywhere. I'm like, dude, get out of there. Like that's a red flag, dude. Yeah, I'm out. Owen, take me out of here, dude.
I'm gonna be honest. If I was the like new au pair and I saw that, I would be like, no, take me back.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'll go stay somewhere else.
And so so she meets everybody, and the boy's kind of a jerk. But you can definitely tell something's wrong with him too, because he has like mood swings, like where like he's really nice and like I believe himself, and then he just like this horrible person.
Yeah.
And so they meet up, and then they reveal that the previous au pair was murdered or killed or something, like they don't know, but she just like she ended up in that lake that Flora was looking at.
Right.
And then she gets trapped, and so she's putting the kids to bed, and this is where it gets real creepy, because anything with kids is creepier times 10. And so Flora has a dollhouse, and this dollhouse is a replica of the real house.
Yeah, a close replica. Yeah,
and it has a bunch of different dolls and stuff like that. And Flora already made a doll for Danny, the main character, and tells her not to touch anything, and everything is where it needs to be. But then she finds this like faceless doll all the way under her dresser, and she's like, "No, it stays there."
Dun, dun, dun.
And then they trap Danny in a closet.
That was
that was creepy, because it's not really Danny doing it.
Danny, dude.
It's not Danny being trapped. It's that the kids are trapping her because one of these spirits or whatever is like they're playing with them,
or it's like roaming it was roaming the property. Like it comes in every now and then.
Yeah,
and she was not supposed to be out of bed pretty much at that point. And so they locked her in the closet, but it had a mirror, and the mirror shows the weird glasses guy.
Yeah.
And she was like uber freaked out because she couldn't get out of there, and she was trapped in there with the glasses guy.
Yeah. So, and then it cuts, and like that's the episode.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. That's like the most typical childish behavior, is to try to lock someone in a closet or like in a room. Like that's the stuff that we would do as a child. So I was like, oh, that's normal-ish. Finally, something normal.
You can't justify this. I see what you're doing.
I'm just saying, like, of all the behavior that happens with the kids, like this is normal.
Like with fine. Me after that. I would
also
the key for everything after that, just in case.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust these kids after that.
Well, like she's like this like nanny basically. Like she should have all these keys. And she met with the housekeeper, Hannah Gross. She should have keys too, you know? But yeah.
Who knows? So that is the first episode.
That's the first episode. And it definitely leaves you with like a whole bunch of stuff of like, why are these kids so cooked up? Like, what's the deal? Like, what's the history of this place? What happened to the first the pair?
Pairs.
You can say nanny.
I'm gonna say nanny. Okay, I'm not British, so I'm saying nanny.
Yeah, that's true.
Reminds me of the show The Nanny. It's a good show.
Wow. Yeah.
I keep thinking of Grown Ups.
Grown Ups.
You remember the Adam Sandler movie where he has that nanny, but he tries to make it seem like she's actually a student in high school, not an actual nanny, like a foreign exchange student.
Oh my
yeah. And so there's the second episode really just explains the history of the boy. Like he went to a boarding school, but then like some weird stuff happens with him. Like he kills a dove that was inside their homeroom or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He kills the dove and then he talks.
Just to go back to be with his sister, I think, right?
Yeah. Like he's doing all this stuff to go back to his house because Flora sends him a letter saying come home, and there's 3 people being drawn, but it's only Flora at the house, like Flora and the house lady.
Ugh.
So that's real creepy. Why is there a third thing? And so he's at this boarding school, this like Catholic boarding school, and then they have like the nice little philosophical debate about demons and all that cool stuff, and he kills like the bird, and then when asked to apologize, he says, "I'm sorry. I wish I would have killed it in worse ways."
Mm-hmm.
Because he just snapped its neck. Like he goes on to like, I wish I burned it. I wish I like shot it and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you're expelled. No, get out of here.
He's really trying to get out of there. Like he's really trying to get out of school. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. So real creepy. Not too much in that episode. Just kind of explains the boy's background. I guess. His name's Miles.
Because in episode 1, it's when like Danny, who's the au pair, starts to question him a little more than she does Flora.
Yeah,
and then so it kind of foreshadows this episode because she asked those questions in episode 1. Then in episode 2, it goes into that background of like him doing like killing these birds. Like he got in a fight. The first thing was he got in a fight. Killed the bird. Dude, he destroyed that kid, by the way.
And then he like tried
to be honest with y'all. Like he
jump off the tree.
Yeah, he broke his arm. That's it.
Yeah.
And so it was I real quick, I just want to stop there to say that I really like the depiction that kind of like creepy vibe it kept with what's his name? I think what was it? I forgot his name. The Miles. The creepy vibe it kept with Miles just because of the fact that like he already came off as like this very ominous, mysterious child. And again, like Elijah said, anything with a child, creepy AF, dude.
It's already creepy times if there's a kid involved. Like
and at the end when he gets expelled, like for saying all that crap about the birds, about how he could have just killed the bird worse. Yeah. I thought that was absolutely phenomenal to bring up and show that like this kid is demented in like a different type of way.
Yeah.
I wonder if like never mind. I'm thinking too far ahead. I'm thinking about Peter and how he was like kind of in.
Oh, he's not there yet.
He can't leave.
Yeah. He's not there yet because he couldn't leave the premise. Right. So episode 3 is kind of just, I wouldn't say underwhelming, but like it explains some sort of the backstory of Miles. I feel like they could have done a lot more. Like maybe explain the backstory of both of them. Like start revealing more of Flora's background, but they'll do that later. But I think it would have been a good time to do it then as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So not like the best episode. And then episode 3 is when we first meet the previous nanny Rebecca Jessel.
Mm-hmm.
And another character named Peter, who is
like the first.
So, like, the kids are orphans, by the way. The kids are orphans whenever Danny comes to them, and their parents have been dead for 2 years. And we don't know what happened to them. We just know that they died somewhere, and that's it. Like, that's all that's really given.
India or something.
Yeah.
They went to a vacation or something.
Yeah, they're taking a vacation in India, and they died.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so, like, their uncle, who has taken over the estate, like, is hiring, Rebecca Jessel, the first nanny, to, like, help out with the kids, like, teach them during summer and stuff like that. And he's like a big lawyer or something like that, and so he has like an assistant, and this guy named Peter Quint, who is a horrible guy, like, just a jerk in all sense of the word.
What was it like? He kind of comes off as like one of those trying to be cool, like Rat Pack-ish sort of vibes, where like he always has like a cigarette in his mouth, and like anything you say, he just kind of brushes off and all snooty and
like in a weird charismatic way, but like
very like good with words. Like he speaks well, and it's almost like he's very manipulative in what he says.
He's manipulative, and so he definitely has that creeper vibe. But he hits on Rebecca Jessel, and they start a relationship. I'm trying to remember like what was scary in this episode.
I don't know. Like
they go through a wing of the house that is like supposed to be off limits, and like that's about it. Yeah, like it's kind of suspenseful,
and he gets kind of weird, like automatically almost. Like she's like trying to leave or something, and he's like, no, stay, and it's just like
he's like real possessive and
real
controlling vibe.
Yeah.
He's like that, and that's really off-putting.
Really off-putting. But she's kind of like hopelessly like just involved in him, and she's like just goes along with it. She's it's kind of crazy for her too.
Is this the same episode where Rebecca ends up meeting up with the cleaning lady, not the au pair, but the other gardener? Not the gardener, the one who goes into like the little chapel and lights the candles?
Housekeeper.
Housekeeper. Like where Rebecca and her, they go into that little chapel or whatever, they sit down and Rebecca says, okay, gotcha.
Yet.
It's kind of like backstory of
Rebecca. But here's where the whole like to me like the whole series starts getting confusing, and I think they do it on purpose. And so they have this timeline with Rebecca Jessel and Peter Quint, which is 6 months before the present timeline with Danny, and then so they're cutting in between each one. And so in the same episode, like it cuts to Danny, who's seeing an aberration of Peter Quint on the property.
Okay. Yeah.
And everyone thinks that Peter Quint he committed a bunch of fraud and like stole all of like Henry's money. And so they don't know like where he is and stuff. And so, but she keeps seeing him like as like a ghost on the property.
Yeah.
And then the kids do this thing called story time, and it's real creepy. And Miles gets even more creepier because they tell like a quick little story, and Flora tells a story about a cat. So she dresses up like a cat. It's real cute. Miles goes into like the metaphorical aspects of loneliness and like this really long soliloquy, and all the adults are just like, that's acceptable. Yeah. Good job. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if my kid's doing a 15-minute soliloquy about loneliness and crippling depression, I'm gonna talk to him.
Right. Yeah. We gotta get him in somewhere. We gotta do something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
and
true.
So it keeps cutting in between these two stories, and I think they do it on purpose to kind of like confuse you. And like your whole sense of time within the show gets kind of not diluted, but like obscured.
Yeah.
And they introduced the premise that like when you're dead, you're not gone. That's what like a lot of
it's like living on through memory.
Yeah. So
So
they're
it has
not scared of dying, the two kids, because they know that they won't be gone. And that's kind of weird because it's like, oh, they're kind of showing you little people that here and there that like are still like undead, basically. And it's
yeah,
like,
you get
okay, maybe
glimpses
that's
of like
weird.
the ghosts and stuff that are there. And there's a whole bunch of different kinds
Yeah.
of ghosts there. Like this Peter Quint guy, and in the second episode, I think they play like hide and seek or something like that, and that's real creepy.
Yeah,
because it's hide and seek in a big haunted mansion, like, and then
figure with he has a bunch of like they were old school doctor dressings and stuff.
Yeah,
with a weird mask that comes down. It's really creepy.
There's that, and then there's like an attic full of like dolls and stuff. And Danny goes down there to search for them during hide and seek. Gets real creepy. Nice like use of like lighting and stuff like that. And you're expecting a jump scare. Like you're expecting something to pop up.
Yep.
And she leaves, and it still stays there. And Val caught it the first time we watched it. I didn't see it the first time. One of the heads in the dolls like moves around.
It's like that and does that.
Yeah, it does like a quick little like side glancing move in the head.
Yeah.
And like that was creepy.
That's what Hill House did. Like they did a really good job of little things in the background, like and they also had this kind of format, like introduce the story, but then kind of have an individual episode for like learning this person.
Cast.
Yeah. And then they had these weird like symmetrical shots, and then also these weird things where you're paying more attention to the background than you are like what's
exactly. Yeah,
because there's something happening in the back, and you're like, oh, crazy.
Yeah, and a couple of them like stuff does happen, and other things you don't. So like you're constantly guessing, and like as you said about the symmetrical shots, the cinematography for the whole series was very, very reflective of Hill House.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But like I loved seeing the symmetrical shots. Something about it it was splendid.
It was splendid.
It was very like that's kind of like what like if you were in a haunted house, like an old school manor or whatever, that's what you would see. It's like a symmetrical staircase.
Actually, you know what the first
Hill House was
I
the same
thought
way.
that it was the same way. Yeah, there was a
it's a grand staircase
that comes up and it goes out. Yeah, and I knew that you would like that from the first episode. I was like, dude, he's gonna like the way this room is set up, and then the two paintings that are boom, boom.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
And like every detail about the house is basically explained throughout the series because everything has a relevance to the story, and we'll get into the pacing of the story because that's what I didn't really like about it.
Yeah.
Especially toward the very, very end. And so, yeah, like it's this grand manor with these ginormous, classic 17th century, 18th century portraits hanging everywhere. It's super, like the setting for it was done really well. And so now we start diverging into these two different plot lines. And this is where the story kind of gets like weird.
Convoluted.
Yeah, convoluted is a good way to say it. And so in episode 4, you get a background of Danny.
Yeah.
And it helps explain the creepy little thing that she sees.
Yo, this episode was so sad. Dude,
it was super sad.
This one hit hard. I'll talk about the other one later, but this is one of the episodes where I was just like, after watching this one, I stopped for like a day real quick.
Yeah.
To just kind of take it all in. But continue.
Yeah. No, I agree. That episode was probably one of my favorite episodes of all of them. Just because
I think so too.
There was a lot of great, like the fiance or husband or whatever. He did a really good job, and Danny did a really good job throughout that too.
Yeah,
and it was just a good concept too.
Yeah, like the whole story of it, I think, was amazingly well done, and it gives you gravity to a character. Not even in like a relatable sense, but in like an emotional sense.
Yeah.
And so, they did well in introducing the shadowy figure prior to explaining it.
Yeah.
And then now we're constantly, because she sees it a few times before.
She sees it more and more as the show is progressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like
this, you see it like in one mirror, but now she sees it in like water reflection and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then now it's like the episode leading it, because now I had several questions, and the one big question was, who the hell is that guy?
Yeah,
exactly. Like that's what you want to know. And so it comes out that so Danny and her childhood friend Edmund, or Ed, were like childhood friends, and they loved each other and stuff like that. And they get engaged to get married. It's like, oh, they love each other, you know.
Sorry.
And so, but you could definitely kind of feel like the way they create tension in the story and by the actors, it's real, you know, and you could always kind of feel that slight tension with, like they're at like the engagement party, and like you can definitely feel like Danny is not fully comfortable. And she's not comfortable throughout like this whole flashback. And it comes to find out that Danny is gay, and she's been hiding it and stuff like that. And then she like just kept going along with it, you know. And now like they're getting married like really soon, and so then she decides to come out. And of course it makes Ed upset, and I kind of like, I don't blame him for being upset.
No, yeah, you don't blame him.
You know, and it's just the whole like his reaction.
They just had their engagement like party thing, like their pregame to the wedding and stuff, and they got their whole family together. They're getting the dress ready, all that good stuff, and that's it was hard to see, but you like you
they had that like reception too and everything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The episode I think opens up with that reception.
Yeah,
I remember correctly.
Exactly.
And you see, and so, but they're doing this in a car, and then she's getting, you know, they're both getting really upset and stuff like that. And so, Ed just, instead of just driving away or talking out or whatever, of course, just gets mad, and he gets out of the car onto a busy street, and he gets slammed by a bus. Like, oh my God, he gets slammed by a bus.
So, okay, I thought that was a great depiction of the fact that, like, in an emotional state, you don't know how to react or comprehend. Because, like, looking from, like, the outside in, you would think, why not just tell her to get out of the car? Or, like, why not just drive away and then settle it at home, you know, because you guys are going to eventually have to go home. Yeah. But I thought it was a great that it showed that, like, in that heightened emotion, in that, like, it was almost like his heart was being broken. Like, he didn't know how to react. Yeah. He didn't know how to comprehend. The first thing for him to do was just get away and try to get out. And then all of a sudden he gets hit and, you know, killed by a bus.
Yeah. And then it shows like why he looks the way he looks. And so they're at Ed's funeral, like literally the next cut. Like, you don't have any time to process the fact that he just got slammed. He just got removed from a U.S. census by a bus.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
You know?
It's the only way to put it.
You're there like, oh my gosh. And then it just cuts to the funeral, and she's just there.
And she looks horrible, by the way.
Oh,
like,
she looks bad.
This was probably like one of the best parts for her, the Danny character, because she, like, as a performer, she really made herself look absolutely horrible. Like in like you could see like, everything
like
on her
face and stuff, like the deep sort of cuts, like whenever you're really stressed out under your eyes and stuff, and it's red. Like like her visual cue for all that was
like I love seeing performances where I'm not like baby fed a bunch of stuff. Like if I saw her face and I saw, like, obviously she felt guilty for him dying, but then she's like contemplating her own personal stuff. Like, she's like, all right, I was wrong to even feel like what I felt because of how it hurt somebody. Like, it actually killed somebody. Like if I just if I can just change who I am type of stuff, you know, like all of that stuff running through your mind. Like I was feeling it when I saw her, dude. Like, ugh. And I mean, I can't even relate because, you know, obviously, but like you can sympathize with it really good with the performance, dude. And I thought that was a good episode for her for sure.
Dude, what made it even more like sad, and this is a bit morbid, but what made it like incredibly sad that like if he got hit and then he just died on the spot, no movement or anything like that, it would have been a lot easier to take in than like when he got hit, because when he was dying, he was like moving his head. It's almost like it's almost like you can feel that he's like trying to stay alive almost. Like he truly is fighting for his life. Yeah. And that's what makes it a little bit more intense. And like I felt like a more emotionally involved is that like he doesn't want to die. Like this is so sad because he didn't want to, like it hurt.
Yeah. And so they're at the funeral, and then there's a big mirror, and you see Danny. And then you see the mirror cut of Danny. And then you see Danny. And then you see a mirror cut of Danny again. And then you see...
like for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time you see Ed. And he's like... up. And he has the glasses. And his glasses are bright. Like the light of the truck is reflecting him.
Yeah.
You know? Right. And so I thought that was amazing. Like, that probably is my favorite episode, too.
Yeah.
Of the whole series.
Really yeah.
Yeah. And then it cuts back to the present, where Danny and this gardener are kind of they're kind of falling in love and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And they're all by a bonfire, and then everyone leaves the bonfire, like to go their own way. So you have Owen, the cook, the gardener, Danny, who stays there, and then Hannah Gross, the housekeeper. And so she kind of goes around, and then it cuts like directly into the next episode. And
the Hannah episode, right?
It goes into the Hannah episode. And this episode was confusing.
Dude, that was like a trip, dude. And so I'll say two things on this episode. Like I get it. I get what was happening and stuff. But I don't get the performance. Like if I'm replaying stuff that quick, if I'm going in and out of different times and different places,
different memories,
situations, different memories, I'm freaking the F out, dude. I am like, I'm tired. Like there's one moment, and I don't think it's that episode, or no, it's the beginning of the episode. It's the beginning of that episode. She comes out of the house and she goes, rah! Right? She like screams. She's upset about, I think somebody dying or something, or like the memory of somebody dying.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the episode, she deals with this repetitious memory jumping thing.
Yeah. So she goes through it's basically the episode is the same, like 4 or 5 memories that she's having. Like when she first meets Owen, is one of them, the most prominent one. Like that's where she spends the most time. And she's having a deja vu during the interview with Owen for the cook job. And she's like, and then Owen like breaks like, yeah, no, we've done this before. No, you're in a
dude. That was it was so intricate. It was so crazy to follow. But that part where every time she would come back to that interview, like Owen in that situation, like the memory of Owen or whatever would kind of like have that rapport with her, and like this is actually memory, and like when it finally got to the point where he was like, you're dead.
Yeah,
I thought that was a good episode, but it was just hard to follow.
I think that's my problem. It was hard to follow because you're having all of these questions. Like you still have questions about Danny, you still have questions about the kids, you know, and we don't know what's happening, like quite in the present. They're just at a bonfire, and that's where I got confused and discombobulated with what is really happening. Which I think they meant to do that on purpose. I think they do a good job of that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think I understand that it's meant for her to jump into a memory and kind of just in a kind of mind erased kind of state, you know, kind of a real blank kind of feeling, and jump in and be like, oh, I'm here. Okay. and we're doing okay. I understand now. Like kind of disorienting, but there were parts where she was kind of understanding like where she was 2 seconds ago, and I was like, dude, like I guess I had an issue with the performance itself and maybe the scripting on that part, because I would like to be more invested in that part, as like for the fact that I would be freaking out if I was just memory jumping. I would not be like in the disoriented state. Like I would just
not be calm.
I would not be calm, dude. I would be like freaking out. I'd be like irritated at whoever I'm talking to nearby, and kind of frantic. I feel like I just and
none of these memory jumps are really ever explained. And the last the second to last episode, it kind of alludes to like the people that are dead on Bly Manor like have these memory jumps. They can't control them, but they can to a very small degree. Peter Quint alludes to how you can escape a memory, but you really just end up in a different one.
Yeah. Right.
Like you never really control it or anything like that. But this episode kind of goes in, and it really doesn't explain much of Hannah Gross's backstory, just these couple memories, which I wish I learned more about Hannah. Because like right before, like you know that Hannah is the housekeeper, and you know that she knows the parents and the kids. And you see her interact and stuff like that. And she doesn't like Peter Quint, and she calls him out immediately.
Yeah.
But you don't really see too much.
Yeah.
You learn how she dies really quick too. Like
and then you find out that she's been dead this whole time, which was a really good twist.
Yeah.
And how she dies, though, I'm confused. So they're by a well on the manor, and Miles pushes her into the well, and she breaks her neck and dies.
But it's a Peter, like it's a Miles possessed by Peter.
Yeah.
That pushes her in though. That's
exactly. Yeah. And I didn't understand that for a couple more episodes. Like
I don't think they introduced the fact that like Peter was taking over Miles until like episode after this, anyways.
Until not the next episode, but the episode after.
So like everybody was already just assuming that it was just Miles that did it at this point, and then later on is when we like kind of realized that like,
because you've seen him have these personality switches of like this real calm, nice kid to a complete D-bag.
Yeah.
Who like smoking and like this
asking for a drink and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, he was a little shit. Anyway,
for real.
But then you find out why he was though. So
exactly.
That's also fair. But this episode, I do agree that I wish it showed a little bit more about Hannah Gross. Like, I do want to see her background a little bit more. Maybe throw in some like childhood like that she had or something like that. But I do want to give credit
to be at Bly. Like just becoming the housekeeper, and then her and her like husband have like her husband's like caught cheating or whatever. And so then the parents like, hey, you can just stay on like as a live-in housekeeper, and we'll still compensate you and stuff. But like more of like, how does she come across Bly?
Yeah, like that would be great, and I would enjoy that. But I want to give credit to this episode. Like it did a great job of giving us that kind of dynamic and how she felt about Peter Quint, because a lot of it was like her interaction with like Peter Quint, and that's the same episode where she's having that conversation with was it Rebecca Jessel in the little chapel or whatever, and that's when Rebecca's like, he's like, I know the type of person he is, but like I still like am attracted to him, or I still want him. So like that's where this whole like interpretation of the relationship between Hannah Gross and then Peter Quint starts to come into effect. And I think it does do a great job of like demonstrating that and showing that. But we should have seen a little bit more of Hannah Gross, how Hannah Gross got to Bly Manor.
I agree, dude. Like I think that you get a little hint of who she actually is when she talks to Owen a bunch. Like they have weird conversations, and Owen really kind of like
like toys with her almost.
Yeah, like provokes her a little bit, like provokes thought and like provokes these weird poems and stuff like that. And then also like flirts with her in a kind of way, like, hey, let's move to Paris and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that would have been cool to learn of kind of like her trains of thought before she got to Bly, like her aspirations, like maybe there is a Paris thing like that she wants in the future or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And like since we don't know all that stuff, she just gets thrown down a well, and I was just kind of like,
yeah, it just kind of ends for her, and
yeah,
just like,
okay, okay, like that sucks. That sucks for her. Or actually, I felt more bad for Owen knowing that she was dead, because Owen lost his mom, and then he had a kind of a thing for Hannah, right?
Yeah.
So I felt bad that Owen
did show that real quick. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like it did show that as well. Like that whole relationship did develop for a second.
Right, but the fact that
for a second.
Yeah, for a second. But I what I'm saying is I don't feel bad about Hannah dying. Like for Hannah, I feel bad that Hannah died for Owen, because Owen like had a thing for her. They just didn't develop Hannah, and I think you're right.
Dude, and Owen is easily the most like lovable, like caring person on the like out of everybody.
He's likable character on the show.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, no, even like from just a watching, like I'm talking about in terms of like the actual household, like everybody in the house loved Owen.
Yeah, and so
everybody felt so connected with them.
Yeah, and so since you see the Hannah die, now you're thinking, is Owen dead? Is Owen dead?
That's exactly
Archer dead?
Who is?
That's
dead?
what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, okay, what is like? It's almost like you start questioning reality.
Yeah,
like what part of this is actually a real story, and what like at one point I really thought that Danny was just hallucinating all of this.
Yeah.
Because
it kind of alludes to that too. Like Danny's dreaming all this up. And so there's that nice little curveball to it. And there's nothing real scary about the episode. It's just really tense and discombobulating. Right. That's all it really is. And then in the next episode, you meet with Uncle Henry again, and he's an alcoholic, but he sees the father of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that he's dead, but like he still sees him. And then you also see Henry's like evil persona.
Yes. So Danny is haunted. Like, so Danny and this guy, the uncle Henry, are I think the only two characters that are haunted by like things that are like apparitions of guilt or something like that. They're not like actual ghosts or anything.
Exactly.
They're not ghosts of Bly Manor. They're like guilt ghosts or something. Like guilt.
It's almost like PTSD.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's like it's definitely could be like an allegory for guilt and that sense of you caused that loss, and then these people lost their lives in that sort of rage and anger, and so it causes them to cling to them, which amplifies their guilt.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you get a rather long and drawn out. This is where I have an issue with the pacing, because this episode and then in episode 8, this long drawn out pacing of an affair that's happening between Henry and the wife.
Right.
And
like another memory jump episode.
Exactly. It's another memory episode.
And you're done by then.
You're confused and you're tired of being confused, and these answers aren't being presented.
Yeah.
And
I'll be honest, this episode was probably my least favorite, just because it like in general, it just made me feel super uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Which again, I think is what they were really trying to do.
Yeah.
And they succeed. But
the
pacing and the plotting of the episode, it's just it takes on it's forever. You already know it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go on. And at the very end of this episode, where we finally get back to the present, the Flora lures Danny upstairs into the attic, and Miles knocks her out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when like the actual plot of everything is starting to come together. So we've gone through 6 hours.
Those time jumps finally come to like one point.
Yeah. Well, actually, so she gets knocked out, right?
Yeah.
and then it goes into another time jump backwards to the like 1700s.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It explains Peter's.
Yeah.
Peter. So she gets knocked unconscious, and then she wakes up in the attic, and she's like tied up and stuff, and it's really freaking out. And Danny and the actress, oh my gosh, freaking out because she's seeing the apparitions of Rebecca and Peter in the attic, and then Jessica, or not Jessica, I keep calling her Jessica. Rebecca leaves and in a time jump or memory lapse or whatever, and Peter's there, and then you learn that Peter, a little bit of his backstory, like his dad was really abusive, and so
his mom is very manipulative.
Like just a really bad.
And also plot twist, guys. Peter Quint also gets a time jump, so there's that.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like you're really over these sort of things that are happening, but it's through him that it, like, part of the pieces of why Bly Manor is haunted and why they are there is explained.
Yeah.
But not to like the degree of understanding. Yeah. And so he comes up with a plan of they're going to haunt and they're going to possess the bodies of Miles and Flora, him and Rebecca, so they can leave that Bly Manor and go to America or do whatever they're wanting to do.
Yeah, there's like a true like possession. Like they can manipulate the bodies for a certain amount of time or like as they will. But if the person, like the real life person, completely lets the spirit take over in like a really willingful way, then they'll just be there for forever, I guess.
And this is also where we start to realize that, well, you know, why was Miles acting like a shithead earlier? It's because of the fact that he willingly let Peter's ghost or soul possess his body.
Yeah. And then so now, the same thing for Flora and Rebecca, in that Flora would only say perfectly splendid or any of that stuff when Rebecca's in her body.
Yeah.
That's how Rebecca spoke.
That's true.
And so that's when you like putting together the pieces. And so this whole episode is just a backstory about Peter, which I could go without, to be honest.
I agree.
It's more of this pacing of the plot. It's really grinding down now. And I'm just like, all right, you've established these things.
I think like you learned that he dies in that one because of the lady.
Yeah.
The lady of the lake.
Right. The lady of the lake. Which is like what we needed. Like we needed to figure that out. But all the other stuff, like,
Yeah. You kind of just, you know, like,
it was nice.
Sorry, a shitty childhood. You know?
It was nice to figure that out, but that was probably one of my like least important questions. Like on question priority list, it was like last.
Yeah.
To figure out how he died. Like there are other things that I wanted to get sorted out before that. But like I'm glad it again presented that whole like these souls are taking over the children's body. And to even go back on that is like they have to willfully do it. They created that relationship, both Rebecca and Peter with Miles and Flora. They created that relationship, showing that like they can always be trusted, or they have that strong bond with the child.
They're always going to give them like happy memories. It's not going to give them bad memories.
Yeah. Right? So anytime they did it was always willfully.
Yeah, you know like you never time jump into a bad memory except for Peter. Peter time jumps in a bad memory.
He deserved it. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. He deserved it.
And so they kind of allude to the plot that's going to happen. But whenever they go to fully possess the bodies of the kids, that's when Miles, now being Peter, is going over to Hannah to like convince her that she's a ghost. She's dead. She's not alive. You know, and that's when Hannah Gross like realizes it, and then she sort of becomes a non-factor in the plot for the rest of the show.
Yeah. Like she has like a self-realization and just doesn't do anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Like she states that she needs to help save the kids, but then she can't do anything.
Yeah. She like disappears because then Owen and the gardener will like arrive there, and she's like, the kids need you at the lake. And then they turn away, and then Owen turns back and Hannah's just gone.
Yeah. Like she's just gone. And so it turns out that Rebecca like lied to Peter because she realizes that Peter's an evil person. It only took her a couple decades being a ghost to do that.
Right.
And she allows Flora to untie Danny, and then they run out and they're trying to run away. And they get caught by the central ghost of this whole story that you see bits and pieces of that are alluded to. Real creepy, real scary. Danny runs into her and she just like choke slams her basically.
Yeah.
Like it was like I know that she was there, but the way that she did the jump scare for that was amazing.
Yeah. Was
like
cool.
like I'm completely wrapped up in Danny and Flora running away, and then she just gets choke slammed. So
now it gets into the other episode.
Exactly. So now it gets into like the worst but most necessary episode of the series. Episode 8.
Nice.
The one. This is the one where they like jump back.
One where it explains the whole history of Bly House.
I love that episode.
So I agree. It was kind of weird to jump even farther back in time, right after like almost a climax of like her getting choke slammed.
Yeah,
but that episode, the black and white episode, probably all around like the best like acting performances all around.
Yes,
I think it was. Episode. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I think it was a good episode.
Yeah. I think you just probably don't like going back after building it up so much.
So with that, I think it's a great episode because of the acting performances and also the information it provided us. Mm-hmm. I do, however, feel like it could have been placed as like in episode 1 even. Or 2, you know what I mean? Like it could have been in earlier
that episode as episode 1, but then it kind of spoils everything. But maybe make that the last episode.
Yeah.
Ooh, make it the last.
You know, just make that the last episode.
What would? Let me ask you. What would be your reasoning placing it as like the last episode? Because I feel like it'd be
the last episode because it's a full conflict resolution of the haunting of the series. Yeah. So I would put it as the last episode as a way to tie up everything else, as a way to tie up what this lady in the lake is, as a way to tie up all the dolls and talismans and apparitions that Flora sees and that we see throughout the series.
Dude. Yeah, that's tough because they really, I mean, they juiced it. They put that as a whole entire episode, like an hour long episode. So that's
and that's where I kind of have a little bit of issue with the pacing because I feel like the whole. So what happens is, the original Bly Manor guy dies, and it's like 1630 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so he has 2 daughters. Those 2 daughters marry a distant cousin. And they take, and then these 2 like vow to keep Bly as Bly, like for themselves, you know.
Yeah. Keep it within the family. It'll never leave the family. It's ours.
Yeah. And so they do that, and then they marry this cousin, and it has a really similar relationship to the parents and Henry. But now it's the opposite. It's 2 girls and a guy. It's 2 sisters and a guy compared to, 2 brothers and a guy and a girl.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little parallel, nice little dualism there.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I liked that, but they could have, instead of wasting an hour and 10 minutes, they could have told that in 40, I think, because she talks about how. So the main girl gets sick, and the sister like moves in to like take over Bly and like steal her husband and stuff, and she gets enraged, and so she locks up all of her treasures and stuff. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, you know, then the sister goes and opens these treasures prematurely, and then they're like possessed, and the sister dies.
Well, but. Before like she actually opens up the treasures as she's like taking care as her sister. So the one that got sick, sister A got sick, sister B comes in and she's taking care of like Bly Manor. She's taking care of her sister too. At one point, Sister B gets tired of taking care of her. She gets tired of these accusations that she's trying to take her husband, take her daughter too, because she has a daughter. And so at some point, she kind of just snaps and kills her sick sister. Yeah. And then her sick sister kind of wakes up as a spirit in like her, like, I think a wedding gown or something. She wakes up in like
she's in like a nightgown. But she's in like this room where the door's locked. There's a closet, which is like illusion of the closet in real life.
Yeah.
And then a window that's completely blacked out. She goes over that she sleeps. She wakes up. She checks the door. She walks. She sleeps. She does that for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Where it's just this montage. And I'm like, you can say it twice. But I think it's to provide the illusion of like there's no more time. Time is not a construct anymore.
Yeah.
To provide a little more context, she had, when she was bedridden with her illness, she had a doctor there who gave her only a few months to live, I believe.
Yeah.
And she ended up living 5+ years and probably would have lived longer if it weren't for her sister, right? And so also I believe a priest visited and basically
tried to give her like last rites.
Yeah, like told her to like give up, like basically give it all to God and stuff, like come at peace with like everything you're doing and stuff like that. And she says no. She's like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Not going to heaven. Like,
not nowhere.
Yeah, I'm not going that. Yeah, so she's subjected herself to purgatory, basically. Like, she's like not willingly giving up death, basically. And it's kind of a weird thing. And so because she does that, you know, her sister gets all crazy and ends up killing her. She doesn't go anywhere. She's in this room, and I've considered it like a weird repeating purgatory in a sense.
Yeah, and so I guess the pacing of you could have condensed it down to 40 minutes easily. But then to wrap it all up for this episode, so like they think this chest is like what's really being haunted. And in a way it kind of is, because these are all of the Sister A's possessions. The older sister, Viola is her name.
Meant to be passed down
to her daughter. And so the husband and the daughter then were like, all right, well, these items are cursed, you know, and Bly's kind of falling into ruin and stuff like that. And so they throw that chest into the water. And so that sort of like unlocks the door for Viola to get up. And so every night she walks out of the lake into the house, into the bedroom to look for her daughter. And then she walks back into the lake. And anyone that comes into her path of her walking to the house, to the room, back out of the house into the lake, dies.
Right.
Just because she has like this, you know, senseless rage of, you know, my sister's done all this. My sister killed me. My sister, you know, has taken my family from me and all this stuff. So that like gravitas of anger and resentment and stuff like that, like keeps everyone that dies at Bly on Bly. And then you start seeing it throughout the ages, and like all these different ghosts are kind of explained. And like the plague doctor, like he's there.
Right.
There's a couple more, and with time and these memories that aren't being remembered or realized, like their faces and their whole identity as themselves start going away.
Right.
And so like, that's like the big thing to me of the story is like people can live on, and they can live on through these memories, you know, as long as we have memories, these people are with us. If we don't have the memories, people are not with us. So I thought that was a nice little allegory to it and everything. And so that's the entire episode.
I would have liked to see that, like that 1700s lore in like a 3-parter, like, to be honest, like stretch that out as like like that would be cool to explore that. Like I was captivated by their performances in that episode to where I could like watch like 3 episodes of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I think so. I think they just made it to me just at like an awkward length of like an episode.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weirdly placed too. Like I see what you mean.
Yeah. And then in the last episode, they rescue. So they're back in the present.
Danny's getting choked.
Out.
And she's surprisingly not choking her as quick as
she's like Peter. She killed him like instantly.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking about that too when that happened.
She had no remorse. She was like, "Yeah, you're done, dude. That's it. I'm tired of you."
Yeah, like Peter dies basically instantly.
Yeah,
but
and everything.
Danny, this small little girl, manages to last, like going all the way up the stairs and into the bedroom and pack out. Flora runs to the bed where Viola drops off Danny and takes Flora because she's slowly remembering that she's there. She doesn't quite know why, but she remembers that it's looking for a daughter. So she just takes Flora, takes her down, and at this point, Henry, Owen, and the gardener all show up. And they all try to, like, Henry first tries to stop the lady in the lake, and he gets instantly choked out and dies, like right there.
Right.
Because he dies, and then he starts seeing Peter and all these other people, and he's like freaking out.
How much of a wimp is Henry, dude?
Dude, he's such a wimp.
We see him freak out. Sorry,
dude.
like real quick, like we see him freak out in his office. And then he finally makes a realization he's going to go to Bly Manor. Literally 2 seconds being there, gets choked out.
Just dies.
That's it. Like,
yeah. And then, and so everyone's kind of just watching Lady in the Lake take Flora, and Flora's kind of screaming and stuff. And then Danny comes to her senses, comes back down, and then says the whole thing to Possess. It's you, it's me, it's us, which is something that Viola always said to her daughter. And then so Viola then becomes entrapped inside Danny, and you see her eyes change. So one's green and one's brown.
Orange, brown,
And it's the most, like, Val's like, oh, those are really cool eyes. And I'm like, those are disgusting. Get them away from me.
Those are crazy. And they alluded to that when Peter possessed Miles, I think. Like, Miles' eyes changed like that too.
I think so. I think they did, yeah.
Yeah. That was creepy, yeah.
Yeah, it was super creepy. And that's kind of like how it like resolves itself. And then Danny and the gardener go to America to live out their lives, and then it just kind of continues from that place on, and then you slowly start seeing more of the Lady of the Lake without a face inside of Danny, and she sees her the way she saw Ed, like in a mirror and stuff like that. Real creepy. But it's over a period of years.
Yeah.
Because she feels that the Lady of the Lake is going to eventually take over. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what the narrator may have said on the last episode, is that eventually her time will come and the Lady of the Lake will come for her.
Yeah.
So they fled to America with hopes. Well, not even hopes, just to live out their life, because she
will resolve everything.
Yeah. And so it was cool to see them start to live out their lives and like open a flower shop in America.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
It was awesome because you got to see them experience life for what it was until Danny started seeing the Lady of the Lake everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it was just about 5 or 6 years, because you know how
I think so. Yeah, I think it was 5.
She lived 5 or 6 years after her like diagnosis or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of like the weird parallel there. Like it took that long.
Oh shoot! I didn't even think. Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And so one night, like Danny's getting possessed by Lady of the Lake, and then she almost kills the gardener. And so then she's like, I can't do this anymore. Jamie's the gardener's name. Jamie. And so she takes, and she's like, I can't do this anymore. So she leaves a note, flies back to Bly, goes into the lake and drowns herself. And then Jamie's, of course, heart wrenched, really sad scene.
And she goes to see, like, she dives into the lake to see if
like she dives in to like take me with you type stuff,
but she won't. Yeah,
she won't. She did.
I think that like that officially put a rest to the Lady of the Lake. I think
it did.
Yeah, because once Dany was there, she was like at that point, because the narrator says that
like in peace and in happiness, as compared to Viola, who died in rage and remorse.
Yeah.
So she essentially becomes the Lady of the Lake, and she does roam the property, but without that malice, without
exactly. Like she roams it just to like walk around,
and nobody gets hurt or anything.
Yeah. And so then it cuts to the actual present where you see a middle-aged Jaime. And I was like, I thought it would either be Dany or Jaime the whole time.
Right.
And so she cuts to the story and they're like, oh, look how much time's passed. Why did we waste so much time? Yeah. And then the next day they go to the wedding and it turns out to be Flora's wedding. But like Flora, Miles, Henry, they all don't even remember like what happened. They only have happy memories of the place.
Yeah, it's only Owen and the gardener that actually remember.
Yeah.
After that, and Dany, but Dany's obviously passed away, so it's only those two, and they're currently there, like current time. Obviously, the narrator at that point we come to realize is the gardener, and then Owen ends up kind of giving her like this little nod as he's going off to bed.
Yeah, he's there too. I think he's a little older.
Yeah. Henry's Henry's there. Miles is there. Yeah. And then she tells like a cute little like ritual story that she does every night to come see Dany. And then it cuts to her laying on a couch bed and what we assume is Dany's hand over her shoulder.
Yeah. Right. So, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. So my whole issue with this, comparing it to Hill House, because I think Hill House was a lot better. Mm-hmm. Not like a lot better, but I think it was better. The ending for Bly House kind of felt mediocre, kind of felt it ended.
Yeah.
You know, whereas Hill House, like I saw some resolution and I'm like, okay, good, we're done. Like, get me out of this nightmare. Whereas in Bly, I was like, it's over with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did y'all think of it?
What I talked to a few coworkers who were watching it too, and I have not seen Hill House, so I can't really give you like a definitive answer. But from what I've heard about it, I heard that the Hill House is a lot more scary than is actually a lot more terrifying, while the Bly House is a lot more sad. It's like it'll tug at your emotions a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that's what I heard, and I agree. Like, because on the last scene, when the gardener and Flora are on the couch and they're talking, Flora says, "I don't see this as a horror or a horror story or a ghost story. I see a love story."
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's more true. Like after watching Bly Manor, like I feel like I agree with that a lot more, just because there's so many sad moments. You know, when Dany's ex-fiance at that point dies, gets hit by the truck, and then you know the gardener loses Dany at the end to the Lady of the Lake. Like, and also Owen, we can't forget Owen, who fell in love with Hannah and you know learns that Hannah died in the well. Mm-hmm. Like I do feel like this was just incredibly. I was a lot more sad watching it than I was creeped out. Like I had a few jump scares. Yeah, I had a few jump scares, but like I'm very easy to startle. You know what I mean? Like it just. So it's like it did feel incredibly sad and depressing.
Yeah.
And I did watch The Office afterwards to make me feel better. So
I watched Naruto.
I only had to watch like We Bare Bears or something a couple times afterwards. Like the imagery is really good. I have a few points. Like the imagery was really good. I think cinematography was really good. But I do think Hill House does it better. Hill House definitely does it better in the scare category.
Yeah,
I think I felt more scared watching Hill House. I left watching Hill House more paranoid, like when I'm going to bed, when I turn on the lights. And with Bly House, I was like, nah. Also, but what I really enjoyed was, or what I think is, they picked the right people from Hill House to pick the right people in the Bly House. Like, I think the Nell Danny lady, I think that was a cool, position for her. The other sister, Theo, in Hill House,
Theo plays
the 1700s Viola. That's right.
Yeah.
And I thought that was perfectly casted. Peter's character was perfectly casted. The kids did a good job. I was on the fence about like the Hannah character, even like Owen sometimes, and then sometimes about the gardener. Like I was like kind of like just some of the dialogue was kind of weird for me, but the part that the gardener shined was on, I think, the last episode whenever Danny like essentially like proposes to her and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, dude, I was like, oh, okay, there you go. Like that's a good performance right there.
I think another kind of another good performance for the gardener is when she takes Danny over to the moonflower, I think they're called.
Yeah.
Like when she first introduces Danny to that special flower and she goes on this tangent to like describe it. I thought that was a very good part. But aside from those two moments, I do agree. Like the gardener didn't really have like that much of an impact aside from like those moments.
I was like, at first I was kind of like, I felt like it was a forced thing between them, the gardener and Danny. At first I was kind of like, that was just kind of random. Like I'd like to, and the gardener's performance didn't really captivate me all that much, but by the end and all that they've gone through, over time and stuff, then you get that like proposal thing, and then she like really nailed the performance. I was like, oh dang, okay, there we go. Awesome. And then also what really caught me off guard was whenever it's all resolved and the older gardener is talking to Flora, or who is Flora, older, she's getting married and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And she starts talking about her fear of losing her, her soon to be husband and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That hit hard.
Dang. Yeah.
That hit hard too.
That performance come from, dude? I was like, that was amazing. I don't know who that was, but I was like, dang, that was a good performance too. There's just little snippets of these great acting performances. I was like, dang, that was awesome.
Like, because that's not what you expected at all. Like, I assume that because that's when she says, like, I don't see it as a ghost story, I see it as a love story.
Yeah.
And then that's when she like goes into like, now she has this fear of like losing her significant other, and she's like, whoa, hold on, pump the brakes. What? Like, I'm like choking up. I'm like, I hope you don't lose him either.
Yeah.
Like
seen this character, like, I mean, we've seen Flora. We didn't know it was Flora by then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is just a brand new character, and she gives you like a 2-minute performance, and you're like already in it. Like you just felt it like deep, and you're like, dang, dude. Like it's crazy how some things we can like, we need this, we need this much development. We'd like to have the backstory here. We need more connectivity, and then there's just somebody who comes out of nowhere and does a really great performance, and you're like, whoa, like geez.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely thinking Hill House though. Hill House.
I think Hill House too. I think Chris probably nailed it. Bly House is a lot more melancholy in its mood and its presentation, and it relies a little bit too much more on the jump scare itself. Whereas Hill House had a really good way of just creating tension with characters and what they're going through, and you still get the full arc of conflict resolution and stuff like that. So I definitely think Hill House is a little better because it's more horror, more of that stuff. Whereas Bly is like almost like a gothic type of like old school like ghost storytelling, like where there is like a positive resolution at the end.
Yeah,
kind of. It's weird, but it kind of reminds me of like Tim Burton. Like I feel like if he were to do something like this is how he would write it.
Yeah.
On the detail, but like I like it, it's kind of nice, and it just gives you that like you said it right, Elijah, like that gothic feel.
So
like a light-hearted gothic melancholy, which is really weird. And there's a lot more shows and movies are experimenting with this way of storytelling, you know, jumping back and forth and stuff like that. I can appreciate it, you know. It was all right. It's hard to do, but it's it's a new way of storytelling, you know. I appreciate the
be creative with it.
Yeah, the creativity.
Be creative with it. I may get irritated by how many like time jumps there are, but that shouldn't like impact like creativity aspect of it. Like if you feel like this is the best way to tell the story, tell it that way, and I'll watch it.
Like you're doing something different and new and stuff, and that's what we need in today's, you know, cinema. A recurring thing that we all three talk about is there's no creativity left. But then you get a good little story like Hill House and Bly, you know, where they're doing weird stuff and time skipping and you know, telling a story from like a multi point of view that all calamity, but like it all accumulates, I guess, into a big word, something like that.
Corroborate.
Sorry, guys, if you guys just witnessed that, the Lady of the Lake just took over Elijah.
Yeah. It was me trying to use big words to impress my mom. That's all.
No, I think that Hill House has, and I'm for some reason I'm really stuck on like with horror and scary and stuff. I'm really like, I want the actors and actresses to pull me in. Like I want them to like make me feel like they are free. Like
which is why I think because we reviewed The Ring not too long ago. Y'all should go check it out. We reviewed The Ring and we like The Ring so much because it has that sort of same gravity.
Just like captivate me in the story, in your performance, so that I can be completely invested, feel your fear and horror.
Exactly.
And like I think there are some performances here and there that do that in Bly, but I really do think that the cast of Hill, you know, it has some of the previous, but it has a lot more of like a consistent great performance in Hill House.
Because it's easy to just like have something jump out at the screen and scare you. Like it's super easy. That's what I'm saying. Very easy to predict that kind of stuff. Like at this point, there's not many ways you can scare a person, but you can make it more like you can make people more invested in it by providing that character development and that like the deepness within the character, within the horror of the movie to get you like hooked and get your teeth really synced into the movie.
That's what I'm about.
For sure. Yeah. All right. Cool. So I think I would give it, in terms of snow globes, I think I'd give it probably like, I think I'd give Bly probably like 10 out of 13.5.
Okay.
And then Hill House, I would definitely give like a 14 out of 15.
Out of 13? Oh, that.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
It's all fraction based relations, you know, decimal stuff like that.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with your snow globe ranking. Yeah, it was fun. We went a little overtime here. We had a couple of other things to talk about, but you know what? We'll save that for Halloween Day.
Halloween.
I think we covered a lot. Anybody have any final thoughts? Any final church announcements?
Well, we gotta watch Hill House. You gotta watch
Hill
House.
Do.
I'm kind of down to like watch it again.
Yeah, I'll say about rewatching it too.
We played the trailer like right after, and we were like, I was like, dude, that looks way scarier. Like just the trailer looks crazier.
Val, I think last time Val told me I had to watch it during the day because it is a little scarier.
You watched it by herself at night. I don't know how she did it. She said she didn't make it through like the first episode. She had to wait.
She was crazy. She's seen it in the most frightening setting out of all of us. So
I'll watch it, and I'll tell you guys what I think in comparison to Bly Manor. But anyways, thank you guys for listening. Be sure to share this with your friends, family, everybody you know, everybody you talk to. Next week is going to be a fun one because we will hopefully all be in costumes and we will be talking about Halloween things.
It'll be full Halloween, baby. All Hallows Eve.
Love Halloween. We'll have some candy, maybe dog costumes, question mark.
But
anyways, thank you guys for listening. That's been another episode of the Thought Arcade. Bye guys.
Bye.